From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun. Hello and welcome tonight. Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja reserves ruling in 3 appeals and a cross appeal challenging the election of Monday Okwebolo as Edo State Governor. Bill seeking to make voting mandatory for mature Nigerians passes second reading at the House of Representatives. Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission says Labour Party has 3 factions in the state posing a challenge for the commission ahead of the local government elections in the state. And the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says his country has low expectations that the upcoming peace talks between Russia and Ukraine will lead to a breakthrough.
And on business, Nigeria's headline inflation drops to 23.71% in April from 24.23% in March.
On sports news tonight, South Africa edged past Nigeria to book a place in the final of the CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations for the first time since 1997.
And from the nation's capital, Progressive Governors Forum says reforms introduced by current administration are already yielding positive results.
We begin with legal matters as the Court of Appeal Abuja has reserved judgment in 3 appeals and a cross-appeal filed challenging the outcome of the September 21st governorship election in Edo State, in which the Independent National Electoral Commission declared Monday Okwebolo of the All Progressives Congress as winner. A 3-man panel of the court, presided over by Justice Mohammed Danjuma, reserved the date to be communicated to the parties after taking their final arguments. The appeals heard include the one filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate in the election, Asue Ighodalo, and a cross-appeal by the APC and Mr. Monday Okwebolo. Now, the lawyers for the appellants, while arguing the appeals, prayed the court to allow their appeals and reverse the judgments of the election tribunal delivered on April the 2nd. However, the lawyers for the respondents urged the court to affirm the judgments by the tribunal and dismiss the appeals. Their counsel, Onyechi Ikpeazu, argued that the petition, which they filed before the tribunal, and the appeal are totally an academic exercise. Over to the National Assembly, a bill for an act to amend the Electoral Act to make it mandatory for Nigerians of maturity age to vote in all national and state elections has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Leading the debate, Honorable Daniel Asama says the essence of democracy is participation, expressing the belief that mandatory voting can reduce the influence of vote buying. Meanwhile, a bill for an act to amend the Labour Act to increase the maternity leave period for working women to 6 months has been stepped down in the House after lawmakers, including women, debated against it. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, reports.
A quite eventful plenary session in the House of Representatives begins with defections. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress leads members of the party, including the Minister of State for the Federal Capital Territory, to witness the defection of 3 members of the House to the party.
Congratulations, my brother. Congrats.
Honorable Oluwole from Osun State defects from the PDP, while Honorable Kabiru Rurum and Honorable Abdullahi Rogo, both from Kano State, defect from the New Nigeria People's Party.
With your leave, Mr. Speaker.
Getting down to the business of the day, an urgent motion on the admittance to errors in the 2025 UTME by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board is taken as the House calls for calm.
I rise this morning to move a motion on the urgent need to address the anger, confusion, and agony that trail the 2025 JAMB examination UTME in Nigeria. Urge the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, to establish at least one CBT center in each of the 774 local government areas across the Federation.
The House moves to consider bills scheduled for second reading, one of which seeks to make it compulsory for every Nigerian of legal age to vote in elections.
By making voting a legal obligation, we will instill in the citizens a sense of civic duty and shared responsibility in the governance process.
If we begin to put these structures in place, like as a legislature, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you there will be greater participation of Nigerians in our democratic process, so that they will be part of the decision making, so that they will own the process, so that they will own the decision, so that they will not say it is either this party or that party's decision.
Some lawmakers argue that the citizens have lost confidence in the voting system and also question the authenticity of the voters' register.
Can we, in all honesty, tell ourselves that our voter register is clean? In some constituencies, you find Mike Tyson, who is not a citizen of that place, still on the register till today. When we talk about 30% of voters, 30% of what?
The bill scales second reading, but the next one to increase the maternity leave period for women to 6 months does not.
Many states in Nigeria and many countries have already adopted this 6 months maternity leave period for women. It will just be therefore ideal and proper for us to reflect that in the laws of federation. So in view of the numerous benefits as I enumerated, for those of us who are fathers and who are also looking to become grandparents, I think this amendment is in the interest of our children and grandchildren, even those not yet born.
Already we are not on the good book of you men. I'm sorry to say, but this is what is obtainable. Now, if this bill goes on, people in private sector may say, want to employ a woman when she's pregnant, she leaves the office for 6 months, and there will be nobody there.
I seek the leave of the House to step down this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the House has continued to amend the Regional Development Commission Acts to expand their directorates. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Now in Lagos, let's check out what you may call a riot political situation within the Labour Party, where Chairman of the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, LASIEC, retired Justice Bola Okikeolu-Ihile, has disclosed that the Labour Party currently has 3 rival factions in Lagos, posing a challenge to the Commission's engagement with the party ahead of the upcoming local government elections. Speaking at a stakeholders forum in Ikeja, she noted that LASIEC is awaiting official guidance from the Independent National Electoral Commission on which faction to formally recognize for the July the 12th polls.
Ahead of the July 12 local government elections in Lagos State, the State Independent Electoral Commission, LASIEC, has begun stakeholder engagement meetings in Ikeja Division. The goal is to ensure free, fair and credible polls across the state. The Commission acknowledges the critical role of security agencies and confirms their inclusion in the planning process to guarantee the safety of voters and election officials.
That's education, is what we're doing. We did a bit of it when we went for familiarization visits and went to our offices and also to check our stores. But we had to see the local government chairman and the LCDA chairman who are housing our stores and also that.
You must do a representation of the...
Delivering the keynote address, guest speaker and former permanent secretary in the Lagos State Ministry of Information, Mr. Folari Adeyemi, calls for stronger civic engagement and inclusive participation in local governance.
Chairman, there must be a constant review and amendment of the electoral laws of LASIEC.
Stakeholders, including political party representatives and civil society actors, voiced their concerns regarding electoral transparency, voter education, and internal party conflicts that could undermine the electoral process.
The form should be entirely made free also for the youth so that we can have the opportunity to participate fully.
We have now written to
INEC.
Responding to questions, Chairperson of LASIEC, Justice Bola Okikiolu Ihile, reveals a significant challenge.
We have 8 sections of Labour Party. We cannot entertain 3 sections in one party.
The Lagos State Electoral Commission says it will continue to engage communities across the state in preparation for what it hopes will be a credible and inclusive election.
Back to the National Assembly this time, the Senate has constituted a 20-member committee ahead of a planned national summit on security as part of efforts to tackle the nation's protracted insecurity challenge. A president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who gave the announcement during plenary today, named the leader of the Senate, Senator Bayemi Bamidele, as chairman. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
Mr. President, I come under...
The growing insecurity in the country is once again a subject matter as lawmakers resume another legislative session.
Coming from my local government.
In a matter of urgent national importance, 2 senators raised concerns about identical incidences of kidnapping and killings in Kogi and Benue states.
Suspected kidnappers stormed the palace of the referred second-class chief around 12 a.m., shooting sporadically into the air before whisking the traditional ruler away to an unknown location.
The Senate notes with grave concern the attacks of suspected Fulani herdsmen on 2 communities of Akpeti and Ojantele that no less than 13 persons who were moving about their normal businesses were mowed down by these marauders.
Lawmakers therefore resolved to ask President Bola Tinubu to expedite action on a pending bill.
To draw Mr. President's attention to the Nigerian Foreign Security Service Establishment Bill 2025, recently passed by the National Assembly, awaiting presidential assent. This bill can be brought back to accommodate the President's line of thought regarding the setting up of the proposed forest guard. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Fast-tracking action to proffer solutions to the lingering menace of insecurity through its summit, the President of the Senate constitutes a 20-man committee.
There's a Senate committee to plan for the upcoming National Security Summit. The chairman of the committee will be distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, the Senate leader. So you have to report back to the Senate in 2 weeks.
The Senate also considered a bill to mandate patronage of local automobile manufacturers to boost local industries.
Nigeria must, at this stage of our history, enforce a sustainable policy on made in Nigeria automobiles.
What this bill seeks to do is essentially to give legal tooth to the resolution of the Federal Executive Council.
The bill is referred to the Committee on Public Procurement to report back in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the Senate has passed through a second reading a bill seeking to establish the National Agency for Malaria Eradication, sponsored by Senator Ned Walker as part of an urgent national effort to combat malaria. The bill has been referred to the Committee on Health to report back in 4 weeks. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, Progressive Governors Forum says the reforms introduced by the current administration are already yielding positive results. Please stay with us.
Custodian Investment PLC.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja reserves ruling in 3 appeals and a cross-appeal challenging the election of Monday Okpebholo as Edo State Governor. Bill seeking to make voting mandatory for mature Nigerians passes second reading at the House of Representatives. Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission says Labour Party has 3 factions in the state posing a challenge for the commission ahead of the local government elections in the state. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says his country has low expectations that the upcoming peace talks between Russia and Ukraine will lead to a breakthrough. So let's head to the nation's capital, where Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Millicent. Good to see you again.
Many thanks, Ayatunde. Same here. Reform results are in, and they are positive. That's according to the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who says despite the criticism of the opposition, President Bola Tinubu has been vindicated by the international community because of his positive reforms in the country. Well, speaking in Abuja after a meeting of the forum, Mr. Uzodinma says international organizations like the World Bank and IMF are now beginning to commend the Tinubu administration for taking bold decisions on embarking on a reform-driven government. The expanded meeting, which was attended by 20 governors, also had in attendance the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, and the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris.
Everybody you have seen here today came as a member of APC, irrespective of the political office he or she occupies. So, and we are here to put heads together to congratulate ourselves and congratulate Nigerians on the recent developments. You know, at the beginning of this administration, when the president started with the reforms, the opposition was very loud in criticizing the policies of the government. But today, Mr. President is being vindicated. Gradually, international organizations like World Bank, IMF, are now beginning to commend the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for taking bold decisions in embarking on a reform-driven government. So at the same time, to also see her best to coordinate and encourage the members of our great party, and by extension Nigerians, who, despite all distractions, were resilient in supporting the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
In other stories, you may be aware of the numerous lotteries present in many parts of the country, including the FCT. Well, now, the Federal Capital Territory Administration has commenced regulation and oversight of the gaming industry within the nation's capital in order to prevent loss of revenue. The Director General of the FCT Lottery Regulatory Office, Mr. Lanre Gbajabiamila, made the clarification during a meeting with the management of the FCT Internal Revenue Service. In Abuja, our correspondent Kumbi Aboluwade has more.
Federal Capital Territory.
This is the official inauguration of the Federal Capital Territory Lottery Regulatory Office, and the Director General of the agency, Mr. Lanre Gbajabiamila, is joined by the acting chairman of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Michael Angle. This inauguration is coming after the Supreme Court nullified the 2005 Lottery Act in November 2024 and reserved the powers to regulate lottery and the gaming industry in sub-nationals.
This directive presents an invaluable opportunity for the FCT to utilize its gaming industry. We appeal to existing and intending operators to be rest assured that this mandate aligns with the FCTA's vision to harness the economic potential of the gaming sector for the development of the FCT, while pursuing the objective on enhancing the industry's reputation.
We believe that one of the attractions of cities such as ours is that people come here for leisure, and we believe that the gaming industry holds a lot of promise for attracting investment into the FCT. That is the reason why we believe that this initiative is one that is for the overall benefit of the residents and the people of the FCT.
Outside the inauguration, the DGFCT Lottery Regulatory Office explains his plans to collaborate with relevant agencies, though he denied membership of the Federation of State Gaming Regulations in Nigeria.
Without a doubt, we go collaborate with the FCTRS, especially since they're the sole tax regulator, collector in FCT. So it's in our best interest to work together. We all know that we cannot have a federation within a federation in the Republic of Nigeria. Nigeria is a federation. So how would an association, call themselves a group of people or individuals, states, call themselves a federation? I think that's illegal. I think we cannot be part of illegality. So to answer your question, we're not part of the federation of whatever they call themselves, regulators.
The DG is promising to ensure an enabling environment and ease of doing business for operators within the FCT. Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
Well, let's head to Kaduna State, where Governor Odua Sani says his administration is investing significantly in agriculture as a tool to tackle poverty, with the sector contributing 43% of the state's GDP and employing a large number of people. Speaking in the capital at the distribution of over 12,000 bags of rice to identified groups in the state under the Presidential Palliative Initiative, Governor Sani commends President Bola Tinubu's administration for its unprecedented investment and support for agriculture.
Amidst calls for improved standard of living, the federal government is distributing 12,367 kilograms of rice to identified groups under the Presidential Palliative Initiative as part of a nationwide initiative to improve the socio-economic well-being of the people. Present at the distribution of the palliatives are the Minister of National Planning, Atiku Bagudu, and the Senior Special Assistant to the President, Ibrahim Masari, who commended the President's courage in implementing tough but necessary reforms.
Kaduna is the pulse of the North. Let us support our governor, who has done very well. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, let's support him.
This initiative is a demonstration of the President's empathy and proactive approach to addressing the need and improving the well-being of our people.
The traditional ruler of Zazzau is appreciative of the gesture.
From this intervention by Mr. President. And this is also to further re-establish the bond between our state government and the federal government, which means there is synergy, there is collaboration, and there is support at every stage.
An elated Governor Odua Sani underscores why agriculture remains key in addressing the burden of poverty and unemployment in the country, just as he commends President Bola Tinubu's administration for supporting the subnational governments with several interventions.
The intervention of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I can say in the last 2 years, he has made some very important intervention. And I can say here that we are number one in maize production in Nigeria. We are number one in ginger production in Nigeria. We are number one in tomato production in Nigeria. We are number two in sorghum and many other crops in Nigeria. It's not just accidental. It's because deliberately we invested in agriculture.
As the state government focuses on agriculture, Governor Sani hopes to tackle poverty and improve the lives of his citizens, particularly in rural areas.
And staying in the Northwest, as part of activities marking his second anniversary in office, Governor Dauda Lawal has commissioned the newly renovated Phase 2 of the J.B. Akubu State Secretariat in Gusau, the capital. Governor Lawal was speaking at the commissioning ceremony where he said the project is part of his administration's efforts to enhance the working environment for civil servants.
It's day 3 of the series of activities lined up to mark the 2nd year anniversary of Governor Dauda Lawal's administration. The governor is here to commission newly renovated Phase 2 of the J.B. Akubu State Secretariat in Gusau, the state's capital. Addressing the gathering, the Secretary to the State Government, Abubakar Nakwada, describes the project as a reflection of the governor's visionary leadership.
Today marks not just the unveiling of a fiscal structure, but the reaffirmation of a vision of transformation, accountability, and a purposeful governance. This ceremony is part of a series of meaningful activities lined up to celebrate the 2nd anniversary of His Excellency's ascension to office, and it is adequately captured within the spirit of this administration's commitment to rebuilding the institutional framework of governance in Zamfara State.
Governor Lawal, in his remarks, reiterates his administration's focus on revitalizing the civil service through infrastructural development and capacity building.
Beyond the physical transformation, what we are witnessing is a clear demonstration of our administrative resolve to strengthen the institutional framework of governance through concrete investment in the civil service. Our vision of public service reform goes beyond infrastructure. We believe that a motivated and professional civil service is the backbone of very good governance.
He later proceeds to commission the project
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim,
and inspects the newly renovated offices, expressing satisfaction with the quality of work executed.
I'm fully satisfied with the job because this is how it is supposed to be. We're doing this to make sure we have a very, very functional civil service in Zamfara State. And I'm telling you, all the officers of civil service in Zamfara State, this is exactly how they look like. We'll just finish Women Affairs, and I'm sure I'll take you there to also see what we've done.
The commissioning of Phase 2 of the State Secretariat follows the successful renovation and commissioning of Phase 1 last year under the same administration.
Still ahead on the news at 10, and Nigeria's headline inflation drops to 23.71% from 24.23% in March. That's on Business News. Please join us again.
Welcome back. If you're a lover of the Spanish La Liga, then this surely will interest you, as the Nivea El Clasico watch party truly lived up to its hype. Football fans gathered at the Amore Gardens in Lekki, Lagos to enjoy one of the biggest games in football. That's the El Clasico, involving FC Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Nivea, one of the sponsors of Spanish giants Real Madrid Football Club for 5 years running, used the watch party to introduce the Nivea Men new range products to loyal fans and customers.
It's a gathering of football fans at the Nivea El Clasico watch party, and this fan needs all the confidence with Nivea Men Deep. A frenzied atmosphere in the hall as fans await a match that could decide Real Madrid's fate in the title race. Just before kickoff, a football legend, JJ Okocha, walks in, giving his unbiased analysis. And when Mbappe opens the scoring from the penalty spot, the reaction is epic, with fans not afraid to sweat with the protection of Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant. At the break, Barcelona fans are having the best time with halftime analysis in their favor.
Away from home, Barcelona is known for their possession game.
With the game over and Barcelona winning 4-3, organizers explain the reason for the watch party.
You know, we have Nivea Men, which is a very powerful franchise for the male target group as well. So this is an opportunity for us to just amplify that by, tagging into our partnership that we have with Real Madrid, which a lot of male consumers love the football, and definitely that asset can help us to actually elevate the Nivea Men franchise in Nigeria, and I think they love it.
I
mean, like you can see, we are one of the official sponsors of the Real Madrid team. And the biggest match, the very biggest for the Spanish league, is the El Clasico. So it just made sense to sponsor this and bring all the football lovers out there into the room and let's talk about, let's play, let's have fun, let's watch the match, it's just the right thing to do, absolutely.
Everything about it is special. The ingredients, the darkwood fragrance, the black carbon, the max tech, all of it makes it special. So it's lasting fragrance, protection, and moisturization. It's fantastic, and the smell is just amazing.
Win or lose, the partnership with Real Madrid is long-term, and the aim is to make the next edition bigger and better.
It's purely electrical, and definitely this is what we represent, right? It's an opportunity for us to really connect Nivea men to its consumers, and we did that clearly today, irrespective of the outcome of the match, right? So definitely we will have more of this.
JJ Okocha is ecstatic with the effort put in by Nivea.
Grateful to Nivea men for putting this together. It was a wonderful game. It started very well for Madrid, going 2-0 up, and the comeback was something else. No one saw that coming. But I think in general, Barcelona deserved to win the game.
The game may be over, but the party continues with a raffle draw.
One of Nigeria's leading financial institutions, Access Holdings PLC, has held its third annual general meeting, celebrating impressive growth figures for the year 2024. With a total dividend of ₦2.50 per share declared to shareholders, the group hopes to reinforce its diversification and growth strategy across its subsidiaries.
That is something that I take.
It's the beginning of another financial year for Access Holdings PLC. And for the third year running, the group reflects on a strong performance in the year 2024.
Not 1 trillion naira.
This performance was driven by a blend of organic growth and strategic acquisitions, from Access ARM Pensions and Access Insurance Brokers to Hydrogen Payment and Switching Services and Oxygen X Finance Company Limited. The group's subsidiaries continue to reinforce its diversification strategy and long-term vision for sustainable growth.
We have done perhaps just the first generation. That first generation, from a leadership standpoint in an executive sense, comprising myself and my co-visionary Herbert. 10, 20 years. So we have a 10-generation vision and legacy in mind. If we've done the first generation, that means there are 9 more.
The beauty of our consolidation is the fact that if you do the analysis, you see that the international subsidiaries as well as the African subsidiaries are increasing their contributions to our revenues, which also reaffirms the fact that our income is sustainable.
The numbers tell the story. Access Holdings saw a remarkable rise in key performance indicators. Total assets surged by 55% to 41.4 trillion naira. Gross earnings climbed by 88% from 2.5 trillion naira in 2023 to 4.8 trillion naira. Profit before tax increased from 729 billion naira to 867 billion naira.
Be declared and paid to all shareholders.
And for a major highlight that always excites shareholders, a final dividend per share of 2.05 naira is approved, bringing the total dividend for 2024 to 2.50 naira per share. Reflecting on the group's performance and the road ahead, the acting group CEO outlined their strategic focus for the new financial year.
Our focus still remains the same, and it's consistent with our 5-year corporate strategy. And what do we want to do? Our focus still remains on people, planet, and profit.
As the results show, Access Holdings PLC recorded growth across key balance sheet indicators and continues to maintain a healthy and diversified financial structure, positioning itself for even greater impact in the years ahead.
Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC today declared a final dividend of 300 kobo per share for the year ended December 31st, 2024. The shareholders also re-elected 3 independent non-executive directors and approved the appointment of a new one during the company's annual general meeting in Lagos. The bank explains this was driven by customer-centric solutions, enhanced digital transformation, and responsible investments.
From far and near, they've come. Shareholders of Stanbic IBTC for the 13th Annual General Meeting. 2024, a challenging year for most Nigerians, was not different for them. Facing off the obstacles in managing liquidity, rising operational costs and regulatory challenges, the management says Stanbic IBTC remains competitive and profitable.
For the fourth consecutive year, our SME and retail banking businesses retained their first positions in the 2024 KPMG Nigeria Banking Industry Customer Experience Survey.
And the facts and the figures show this growth, which reached 75% in 2024, up from 72% in 2023, with cost-to-income ratio down to 37.6% from 47% in 2023. Though the revenue took a hit with a 100% increase in tax charges year on year, Stanbic IBTC's balance sheet remains strong, with customer deposits increased to 3 trillion naira. With keen interest, stakeholders follow through the auditor's report, giving a nod to the performance, but a message to the regulator.
Insurance for deposits and central bank went up by 15 billion in 1 year. This is basically punishing an excellent student for doing very well.
At the end of the day, it's a resounding approval for the board.
We are paying 3 naira, and I said shareholders appreciate you, appreciate the board, but going forward, disclose it more.
Looking ahead, Stanbic IBTC is assuring stakeholders that more should be expected.
Performance of the company, we believe that with improved performance and earnings and dividend declaration, the results should continue to improve.
We assure shareholders that because we do business, the right business in the right way, we are growing a diversified financial services group in a sustainable manner.
Stanbic IBTC promises to remain an integral part of its customers' journeys across all its customer segments, supporting and enhancing their growth by continuously providing value-added solutions.
Odua Investment Company Limited has announced a dividend payout of 518 million naira to its shareholders for the 2024 financial year, representing a 21% increase over the 428 million naira declared in 2023. Now, the announcement was made by the Group Chairman, Mr. Bimbo Ashiru, who described the overall performance as a testament to the company's resilience in the challenging business environment.
At this juncture, I want to inform you,
as the custodians of the investment hub for the Southwest states, the board of Odua Investment Company performs its core obligation, presented the group's annual reports and financial statements to the shareholder states represented at the 43rd Annual General Meeting.
Odua Company Limited operating revenue grew.
On behalf of the board, the chairman, Mr. Bimbo Ashiru, highlights what he believes is an exceptional performance at the end of 2024.
As a company, we navigated this challenging economic environment and delivered a positive result and demonstrates the resilience of organization.
The chairman's position is supported by a graphic representation of key indicators of the company's financial performance, including revenue growth, operating profits, total comprehensive income, and the value of its financial assets.
At the last meeting held by the Governors Forum, they specifically said that they are happy and they are proud with what is happening in Odua. We are making them proud. It is not the issue of dividend alone. It is how consistently we are moving the target, and which is very important.
In terms of
profit itself that was reported for this year. Look at the line called operating profit, and that is more than doubled. Yes, so we're fine, and we're looking forward,
In another segment of the AGM, shareholders and guests witnessed the signing of MOUs to seal a 10 billion naira joint venture between SWATCO, the agribusiness subsidiary of Odua Investment Company, and its strategic partners. This partnership will facilitate the development of a cocoa plantation at the Odua Agro-Industrial Hub in Ekiti or Ondo State, a maize production project in Ekiti State, and an integrated maize, soybeans, sorghum, and beef production initiative in Ogun State.
We are in Ekiti now, we are in Odo, we are in Ogun. Lagos State, we are doing the paddy rights with them, through SWACO. Oshun, we are there. We are even going to reactivate the academy, the farm academy in Oshun. So those are the things that we are working on. So with that, we are focused, and we believe that we are going to contribute our own quota to the economy of this country in a more progressive way.
And with this, we'll be able to collaborate with each other, and the Southwest States are ready to continue to give them the necessary support so that the company will continue to grow from strength to strength.
The various projects are expected to enhance food security, create thousands of direct and indirect jobs, and boost local economies in the Southwest.
Business News is up next with Will Ibom. Will.
From annual general meetings, we head to Nigeria's economy, checking out the indices. Nigeria's inflation rate slightly eased in the month of April, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. Headline inflation dropped to 23.71%, down from 24.23% in March. Core inflation, which excludes prices of food and energy, stood at 23.39% in April, from 26.84% recorded in April 2024. Food inflation also fell sharply to 21.36% year-on-year, down from 40.53% in April last year, mainly due to a change in the base year. NBS attributes the decline to lower prices of items like maize, flour, okra, yam flour, rice, beans, and soybeans. Now, a federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt has dismissed an application filed by General Hydrocarbons Limited in its legal battle with First Bank of Nigeria Limited. The oil company had asked the court to compel the Deputy Chief Registrar to serve court orders on parties involved in the suit, including the Nigerian Navy, NUPRC, NIMASA, and the Harbour Master of the Nigeria Ports Authority. The case centers around the arrest and detention of a crude oil cargo aboard the FPSO Tamara Tokoni. General Hydrocarbons had filed a motion ex parte urging the court to ensure court orders were officially served on the relevant authorities. But in a ruling delivered on May the 7th, 2025, the court held that it no longer had jurisdiction over the matter since the appeal had already been entered at the Court of Appeal. As a result, it dismissed the application, describing it as lacking in merit. Now we'll check out the domestic equities market, which is on a roll as it lifted today, largely on gains in Nestle Nigeria. Ladi Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. Well, the NGX All Share Index seems to be getting a little more comfortable in the 109K level this week by 467 points, up 0.37%. If you look at the gainers chart now, see consumer goods stocks are leading again with Honeywell Flour Mill PLC up 10%, and a familiar name remains on this chart there, Beta Glass. The company manufactures and sells glass bottles and containers in Nigeria. This month alone, this is up over 100% at this point. I guess this is not the one you sell in May and go away, but does it still have legs in it? I guess we'll find out at some point. But we got that latest inflation number there for April. It eased, and I guess that's beating the expectations at this point. Maybe that might be bullish for the market tomorrow.
Thank you, Larry. Let's check out the closing numbers for other major stock markets now. And that's a wrap on business news. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thanks so much, Will. President Bola Tinubu has been invited to the Vatican to attend a solemn mass marking the beginning of the pontificate of Pope Leo XIV, the 267th Bishop of Rome and the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church. A statement from the presidency says a papal invitation sent by Cardinal Pietro Parolin underscored the need for President Tinubu's physical presence at this moment of particular importance for the Catholic Church and the world afflicted by many tensions and conflicts. In the invitation, Pope Leo stressed, quote, "Your great nation is particularly dear to me as I worked in the Apostolic Nunciature in Lagos during the 1980s," end quote. Joining the presidential delegation for Saturday, May the 17th this year, is the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, Archbishop of Owerri and President of Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, Archbishop Lucius Ugoji, Archbishop Ignatius Kegama of Abuja, and Alfred Martins of Lagos, as well as the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Hassan Kuka. The president is expected to return to the country on Tuesday, May the 20th. And from our London studios, here's Simon Pusey with our international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Donald Trump says nothing's going to happen on Ukraine peace talks until he and Russian President Vladimir Putin meet in person. Earlier, Ukraine's President Zelensky, who is in Ankara for talks, accused President Putin of sending stand-in props to Turkey instead of himself. Russia's foreign ministry hit back at Zelensky's comment, calling him a clown and a loser. Turkish foreign ministry sources say no meeting is scheduled yet, despite Russian and Ukrainian delegations traveling to the country. Israeli airstrikes have killed 103 people in Gaza since midnight. That's according to the Hamas-run Civil Defense Agency. Here, CCTV showing the moment a hospital in Jabalia is hit. The airstrikes come as an Israeli blockade on aid entering Gaza continues. 10 different aid agencies say the humanitarian situation is getting worse. Israel's retaliatory military campaign after the October the 7th attacks have killed at least 52,000 people in Gaza. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry.
The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects...
Pro-Palestine protesters have disrupted a hearing while Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was testifying. One of those hauled away by officers was Ben Cohen, the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's, who was arrested during the protests.
Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Ben, why are you getting arrested?
A video shared on social media showed Mr. Cohen being escorted from the building by police officers with his hands tied behind his back. Mr. Cohen was charged with a misdemeanor offense, while 6 other demonstrators were also arrested. At least 21 people have been killed in a road accident in central Mexico. That's according to a local official. The 3-vehicle crash happened on the highway between Coacnopalan and Oaxaca in Puebla State on Wednesday morning. 18 people are thought to have died at the scene, and another 3 died later in hospital. Several others were injured and are receiving medical attention. Paramilitary fighters appear to have opened a new phase in Sudan's civil war after being driven from the capital in a move which some experts have described as a shock-and-awe campaign. Just weeks after the army celebrated the recapture of Khartoum, its foe, the Rapid Support Forces, launched a series of unprecedented drone strikes on Port Sudan in the east of the country. The attacks have led to worsening power blackouts as well as city residents facing water shortages. The Gambian government has announced an investigation into the sale of assets seized from the former president, Yahya Jammeh, following widespread public concern. Some of the assets, including livestock and luxury vehicles, were sold off, while a panel was still investigating the wealth Jammeh amassed during his 22-year rule. In a televised address, President Adama Barrow pledged full transparency in the probe, saying assets recovered belong to the people.
Fellow Gambians, recent revelations regarding the disposal of the forfeited asset tied to the former president Yahya Jammeh and his associates have generated national concern with reason. As President of the Republic, I am delivering this public address with sincerity and resolve to allay your fears.
And the eruption of a volcano in the Philippines has been caught on thermal camera. The eruption of the Mount Canlon volcano on the Negros Island saw ash shoot 300 kilometers into the air, with debris then falling. A 4-mile evacuation radius has been placed around the volcano following an earlier eruption in December.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Welcome to Sports News. South Africa's Amajita have defeated the Flying Eagles of Nigeria 1-0 in a test semi-final clash at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismaila to book a place in the final of the CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. A well-taken header by Tylon Smith in the 66th minute proved a decisive in a fiercely contested match between two of Africa's traditional football powerhouses. The result also ends Nigeria's hopes of winning a record-extending 8th Under-20 AFCON title. The Torch of Unity for the 22nd edition of the National Sports Festival, tagged Gateway Games, has arrived over state after touring the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. Receiving the torch at the City Gate, Ogun State Governor Dakwa Abiodun called for unity of purpose and urged young youth to use the event as an avenue for sportsmanship and national development. That's it on Sports News. Ayotunde, back to you.
Many thanks, Olumide. And the main news again. A 3-man panel of the Court of Appeal Abuja today reserved ruling in 3 appeals and a cross appeal challenging the election of Monday Okpebholo as Edo State Governor. Now, the court reserved the date to be communicated to the parties after taking their final arguments. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. You have a good night.